Today I'm going to show you how to factor the sum and difference of two cubes. So there is a formula that was derived centuries and centuries ago by some mathematicians. So it's nothing that we have to prove. It's already set in stone for us. So we are going to factor the sum of cubes, and then we're going to factor the difference of cubes. Sum means to add, difference means to subtract. So I want to start with just refreshing our memory about perfect square numbers. So over here on the left-hand side, I've broken down some perfect square numbers. 4, 9, 16, 25 are perfect square numbers. When you take the square root of those, it factors into the same thing. 2 times 2 gives me 4. 3 times 3 gives me 9. 4 times 4 gives us 16. 5 times 5 gives us 25. And there's a whole bunch of more. We can go on forever and ever. There's also this idea of a cubic number. So when you take the cube root of a number, what number, when you multiply it by itself 3 times, gives you the cubic number? So I've written the first 4 over here. 2 times 2 times 2 gives me 8. 3 times 3 times 3 gives us 27. 4 times 4 times 4 gives me 64. 5 times 5 times 5 gives us 125, and there's a whole bunch of them out there. So today we're going to be working with this set of numbers. So we're going to be recognizing where cubic numbers are and breaking those numbers down to help us factor the sum of two cubes or the difference of two cubes. So these are the two formulas where the stars are at. Those are the two formulas for this one is the sum of cubes because I have a plus sign over here. And then this one is the difference of cubes. So if my problem is something to the third plus something to the third, I use the top one here. And if my problem is something to the third minus something to the third, then I use this formula right here. So these two formulas have been proven. You don't have to try to research it and see if it is true. It's already set in stone. And this is going to help us do the sum of cubes or the difference of cubes. So let's take a look at number 1. We want to factor x to the third plus 27. Now, we're used to doing stuff like x squared, setting up the parentheses, looking for a greatest common factor. We're used to doing that. You still want to look for a greatest common factor, but if you don't have a greatest common factor, then we're going to be using one of these formulas if it's something to the third. So the first thing we want to do is break down x to the third and break down 27. We're looking for the cube root of each term. So if I find the cube root of x to the third, so we're going to label that a. Something times something times something gives me x to the third. That is x. So the cube root of x to the third is x. Now I'm looking for the cube root of 27. So something times something times something. It's got to be the same number. What is it going to give me 27? So that number is 3. How do I know that? Because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, or you can use your calculator to help you with that. Since this is x to the third plus 27, I'm going to be using the top formula because that's what you do if you're doing the sum. So I'm going to be using this one. So I'm just going to rewrite it so that it's right there by me. Now I'm going to plug in my a and b into this formula. So a plus b, our a is x and our b is 3. So I'm going to make substitutions. Now it says to do a squared. So x times x is x squared. Now it says to do a times b. So x times 3. We don't say x3, we say 3x. So this is going to be 3x. Then it says to do b squared. So our b is 3. So 3 times 3, when I make that substitution, 3 times 3 is 9. And just like that, we have factored x to the third plus 27. So x to the third plus 27 factors into x plus 3 times x squared minus 3x plus 9. That is our answer. All right, let's try number 2. Same concept. We're going to go through. We're going to find the cube root of the first term, cube root of the second term, and then substitute it into our formula. The cube root of x to the third is x, because x times x times x gives me x to the third. The cube root of 64 is 4 because 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Notice I am going to ignore the plus or minus when I'm setting up the A and B because that's going to be taken care of in our formula. So don't put that this is -4. We're just going to put that as 4, and we'll deal with the signs when we choose which formula we're going to be using. Since this is x to the third minus 64, I'm going to be using the one at the bottom because that's the one that has the subtraction sign in it over here where my pen is at. So I'm going to be using the one at the bottom. So I'm going to rewrite that formula. And then we're going to plug our A and B in. So it says to do A minus B. So in this case, that's x and 4. So it's going to be x minus 4. The formula says to do A squared. So that's going to be x times x. It says to multiply A times B. So x times 4 is 4x. And then it says to do B squared. So our B is 4. So if I do B squared, that's 4 times 4. And 4 times 4 is 16. And just like that, we have factored x to the third minus 64. So x to the third minus 64 factors into x minus 4 times x squared plus 4x plus 16. All right, we're going to go through and do some more problems. So it's just all a matter of taking the cube root of each of your terms and then choosing your formula. All right, I have rewritten the sum formula and the cubic formula, difference formula, so that we can choose the appropriate ones. All right, number 3. We need to find the cube root of 27x to the third. Now, the cube root of 27 is 3 because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And the cube root of x to the third is x because x times x is x to the third. So this is going to give me 3x. So that is just for this first term. So 27x to the third is 3x. Now I need to find the cube root of 125. What number 3 times is going to give me 125? That number is 5. Because 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. Now, I got a subtraction sign in the middle, so this is a difference of cubes. So I'm using the bottom formula down here. A minus B, A squared plus AB plus B squared. So I'm going to plug in my numbers. It says to do A minus B, so that is 3x minus 5. Then the formula says to do A squared. A is 3x, so we need to multiply 3x times 3x. That gives us 9x squared. Again, formula says to do A squared. Our A is 3x, so we're doing 3x times 3x. That gives me 9x squared. Plus, now it says to multiply A times B. Our A is 3x, our B is 5. That gives me 15x. And then B squared is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So this is our answer. Okay, number 4. I need to find the cube root of 1000 b to the third. So something times something times something. Same number has to give me 1000. That number is 10. And the cube root of b to the third is b. 10 times 10 times 10 is 1000. B times b times b is b to the third. If I break down 1, it's very straightforward. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So it gives me 1. And the formula that we're using for this one is the sum, because I have a plus sign in the middle here and I got a plus sign in the middle there, so I'm using the sum. So we'll rewrite that so we can plug in our numbers and variables in the correct spots. Okay, it says to do A plus B. So that's going to be 10B plus 1. Then it says to do A squared. Our A is 10b. So 10b times 10b is 100b squared. Now it says to multiply A times B, so that's going to give me 10b. And there's a subtraction sign that I just brought down. And it says to do b squared. Our b is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So this is our final answer. And last but not least, let me put this here just for a minute in case you need to pause it so you can get what you need. So figuring out the cube root of each term, choosing your formula, and making a substitution. Last one, number 5. We've already seen both of these numbers today. 125, the cube root is 5. So that's going to be 5x. 27, we've already seen a few times today. The cube root of 27 is 3. We are using the subtraction formula, and the subtraction formula looks like such. So we're going to take our A and B and substitute those into the designated spots. So we're doing 5x minus 3. A squared, 5x times 5x. 5 times 5 is 25, and x times x is x squared. Now we multiply A times B. A is 5x, B is 3. Multiply it. B squared, B is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So hopefully you find that these are not too bad. You're going through and you're finding the cube root of each term and then substituting those into your formulas.